we are now in autumn, so I'm getting into the somewhat spooky mood. You can tell from my pumpkin, my candle, my little ghost, and my little setup. But before we get into the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and ding that bell so you can be notified for the next video that will come up. Some of these will be a mixture of Audible and Hoopla. I have this goal this year just to get into some classic literature. So I was reading like The Great Gatsby. I have already watched the movie with Leo DiCaprio. When I first watched it, I just thought it was just some kind of romance movie. I didn't know there was like meanings behind it. I just thought, oh, that was pretty cool. I want to have like a Great Gatsby party one day. But I didn't know there was like meaning behind it. You know, sometimes being grateful for the things you do want, like you already have, is enough. But also striving for it is good as well. At the same time, don't be obsessed with it. And at the end of the day, you don't want to be known for your money. At the end of the day is having no family or friends. Like imagine living a life and then the moment you die, everyone is too busy to even show up at your funeral. So it's just like, well, I didn't want that. That book taught me to just like, there are more things to life than just money and just partying. You have to do a lot more, which is basically more fulfillment. Like where you're gonna find fulfillment in like your family, your community and charities. So that book definitely brought light to that subject in a very beautiful and poetic way. My dad really likes Jordan Peterson. I think he's alright. I felt like he wanted to tell more of a story for each part, which is his thing. He likes telling a story and he brings religion into things and some bits of history and a little bit of his therapy session. I didn't find as much new information. It was just more so of just him going on about stuff that didn't make it into the first book. Did mention a little bit of like his anxiety episode. Much more prefer the 12 Rules of Life than Beyond Order, but still good books nonetheless. Like my dad enjoyed it a lot more than I did. Of War, not a big fan. Gravitate from the book was the fact that it's just like fight on high ground. Very short to read, The Art of War, and very straightforward, nothing new. People are saying like, oh my god, The Art of War is very inspirational. I mean, it is inspirational, but I find the 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene a lot more beneficial than The Art of War. The Art of War was just very straightforward for the times. Doesn't really include about today's world. Overall, it's just like, it's still a good read if you're interested in war, but I'm not much of a war person, but I do like history. But still worth a read. It's called The King, the Warrior, Magician, Lover. So I read a little bit of it, but then I was like, I can't be effed reading it. So I went on YouTube and there was already the audio book version up on there. I love when you read old books and they're up on YouTube for free. It talks about the transition from boyhood to manhood. I went into it because I was like, well, I want to know what is in this book so I can better understand the opposite sex. Because I can't. And it was only like, what, 2.5 hour like voice thing. And I was like, all right, I'll listen to it. I realized a few things from it, and that was guys are scared of women. The only love, like pure love, unconditional love they'll ever get is from their mother. Hence why they always want to find other women in their lives that can emulate their mother. And in that book as well, it talks about, even though you want to find women who are just like your mom, you need to cut it off and find someone separate. Because at the end of the day, if you want to be a man, you need to step up as one, and you gotta stop looking for someone who's going to treat you like a boy but is going to respect you as a man. But you need to become a man first before you can do. I won't say I enjoyed the book, it just made me open my eyes. It's one of those things that you need to seek out by yourself, even though it was not the target audience. We don't really have a transition from boyhood to manhood. We usually say like, oh, guys can become a man in their late 30s, but by the time that happens, they haven't even done the proper disciplines, the sacrifice, and the mindset to get into any of that first, because society is telling them one thing, but yet no one is guiding them. And then when I mentioned it to my dad, I was like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. He was just like, not silent, but he was just like, he never knew that book existed. And I was like, well, today's the day we all learn. Did this book make me softer towards men? No, I mean, it definitely made me a lot more aware and kind of sad, I guess, from it, because I'm just like, unless you have a very strong, positive role model in your life, you really are destined to fail. Because in this book, it also talks about like them surrounding themselves with like real men in their lives that are not just strong, but also disciplined, social, and lover, and yet self-reflection. If I ever have like a partner or a son, I will definitely give them that book, because I found it to be quite eye-opening and soft in a way, while not being dismasculine. I wish there was a female version of that book, like, you know, the queen, the shield maiden, the witch, and the goddess. I don't know. It's like the moment you have your time in a month, you're now a woman, and you're just like, what? So for us, it's kind of like we already prepared for it throughout our entire teens to early 20s and onwards. Like, there was no thing. It's just like a stumble, stumble, stumble. You're a woman, blah, blah, blah. That's why I think a lot of women get married in their 20s, because they're like, well, I already been a woman for the past 5 years. There's no going back to girlhood. So there we are. But for guys, they're kind of just like, they don't have a major thing. They just like, ah, what do we do? So that opened my eyes to things. So I definitely recommend that book if you just want to know about the men's psyche a little bit, and like how they transition from boyhood to manhood. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. So when I was reading this book, I always knew he was like a tough guy. I always knew he's like one of those, you know, Navy SEALs that came from nothing, who built himself an empire, but I didn't know a lot about him. So when I read the book, because my cousin actually read the book before me, and I was like, oh, I really want to read that book. And he was like, oh yeah, it's good. And I was like, okay. So I put it on my to-do list, and now it was on my to-be-are list, and now I've read it. What I have found interesting about the book, it goes into his past of how like vulnerable he was, self-conscious, and how he never felt like he was good enough, so he masked it through being a big guy, being, you know, stereotypical. I like the part where I want to make a change for my life. I'm done being soft because my whole life was hard. I'm just going to be hard regardless. So he literally became a Navy SEAL, and then he did a few charities. In this book, it taught me that in your brain wants to keep you safe. You only go up to 40% of what you think you are, but there's another like 60% that are pure potential. So in that book, it taught me that no matter what situation, how bad life is, you can like always push yourself to do more. The one thing about this book is that you don't need to go all in all the time. You don't need to be serious and completely think all the time. It's just like life is not always meant to go so hard. There are times to go hard, but you don't need to do it to prove it to anyone. The only person you need to prove it is yourself. And I think that's what's the core message of the book, is just like, do it for yourself. He's still a hard guy. I love his quip, he's like, you're just a bitch. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, compared to him, I am a bitch. He is a great role model in that space of exercising and discipline, but not so much in spirituality. Your business, and you can't structure your business if you yourself are not leading. You can't tell someone to do that, yet you do the complete opposite. Foster a culture. What is your message? What is your morals? What is your values? And how are you living it day by day? So that opened my eyes to things. It's like, in the future, if you want more in life, you're gonna have to lead by example, and you need to create a culture. So right now I'm just trying to figure out what is my culture. I think my culture would be a little bit more improve day by day, like get 1% better every day, but also realize a balance, because now that I'm older, I realize that it is very important to go, but at the same time, for women, it's just like you need to create, I don't want to say balance, but you need to create a little bit of just like what speed. Because I know for a fact there are certain times in a month where I can just go bang, bang, bang. And then there are other times in my month where I need to be soft, because I can't do XYZ all the time. And that's the difference between men and women's, because like men, they just can do it like 24/7, like blah, 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 blah for long periods of time. But for women, we need to have like a slow process. Like, oh, yeah. So I think my culture code will be more like, try your best every single day, be 1% better, strive for your dreams, yourself, help other people. So that's why I started like YouTube. So the next one is Fanatical Prospecting. This one is more geared towards sales. So for me, I'm not a salesperson, but I still want to know about the sale process. Is selling yourself and also going out and getting direct sales. So consistency is key. It wasn't for me, it was just recommended to me. So it wasn't my favorite, but it definitely put me into perspective of just like, if you want a sale, you have to talk directly to them face to face. It will always be the more superior way of doing things. But yeah, so what it taught me is don't underestimate cold calling and salesmen. Build to sell, it talks about when you make a business, make it in a way where you can sell it in the future, and also write yourself how much you want to sell it for and stay committed to that thing price, because in business everyone wants the better price, and it's always better to, even though it is, you can build it to a like such a big potential thing. Want to spend more time on the business, or do you want to spend more time with your family, the things that actually you want to do it while you still can? So in that book, it teaches you about sacrifice, how to build a brand to sell, and the process of selling and afterwards, which is very good, because sometimes in life you're just like, oh, like I want XYZ, but sometimes you gotta ask yourself, what is more, like money or family? And in the book, he chose a certain number, and he chose when he wants to sell. And at the end of the day, money is money. Build it to sell it, and figure out what you want out of modern life, and don't be controlled by the golden cuffs, basically. So I like that book. So one day, if I do manage to build a company and I want to sell it, I will have to do that. Trying to make a little journal thing, so I don't think I'll probably sell that. I wanted to learn how to dress, have proper etiquette. Did it help me? I would say so, a little bit, especially the giant debate about the scones. I personally like putting my jam underneath my cream, so that I'm that person, because first of all, jam is heavier, cream is light, so when you put it on the scone, you can just dabble the cream on top, because it's like, why would you want to flatten the cream? It's just terrible. But he said a funny thing in the book, is just like, it's pointless, but I still do half and half just to chill. So I was like, alright. So we just solved that debate, and in English manners are quite bizarre, but it's still needed, which is also funny because he was on the set for Red, White and Royal Blue. You don't have to be the richest person in the room. Just having table manners and etiquette can go a long way when you talk to people in those circles. So that's what I want to get more into, because my nan has always like taught me how to put the knives and forks, but I would also like to know how to properly speak, have proper conversations, and how to have etiquette. So thank you very much guys for watching. I'll talk to you next time. If you want to support me, there's my little journal, Becoming Her. If you don't want to buy it, that's okay. Let me know, what book should I read next? Alright, take care. Bye bye.